Now it's time to move on to the next technique. It's a left-hand technique and it's called vibrato. Vibrato is here for a coloring of certain notes. Especially for the classical players, I would like to say one thing: don't use vibrato on eighth notes. So when you're playing a phrase, don't use it mainly within the phrase. Use it at the end of a phrase when you come to a longer note, and even then don't start it on the beginning of the note. So I'll give you an example here of a phrase which is played with a classical vibrato. Sounds a little bit too classical for me. It should have been without vibrato. So that's the first thing, don't use vibrato. But the second thing is when you do use it on a longer note, don't start it straight away. I'll show you an example. I started halfway the note to give it a bit of coloring. I'll show you what happens if you start the vibrato on the top of the note. Then it turns into a very classical or even Hungarian classical gypsy way of doing it. So here's the phrase again with the vibrato halfway the note as a bit of coloring, and at the beginning of this note we play a little accent like always. The vibrato itself is not necessarily a classical vibrato. It's a bit wider and a bit faster. So it's not so much this one as this one. And you can practice this if the muscles in your fingers are not up to doing that kind of speed and that kind of amplitude, then you can practice it on a little scale. Make your own exercises, but here's an example. If we're looking at the G string, then we'll play a little line going from the open string to the fourth finger and back, and we'll play vibrato on every finger, and we can try and make that wide vibrato happen.